This work is called Dance of the Sugar Rum Fairy, and in this work, I explored different themes once again on One Piece, but most notably would be the past laws implemented by the apartheid government in South Africa, gangsterism in the Cape Flats in Cape Town, and then also the reservation of separate Amenities Act of 1953, which all formed part of the apartheid system of racial segregation in South Africa. And to start off with, I'm going to just jump straight into this area on top here. Let me just zoom in for you. And so we have the text on top here, which is Juan Cachu, which is basically French for Rubber King. And this references once again King Leopold II of Belgium. And this is actually his character over here. This is him. Um, and of course, we know that he played quite, or maybe some might not know, that he played quite a part in the Congo Free State, in colonizing the Congo Free State at the time. And one of the biggest exports coming out of there was rubber. And so I call him the Rubber King or King Rubber. Um, Moving down here, we see the words "and the saints go marching on." This comes from a song that we used to sing in my primary school. That's where I got these words from. And next to that, we have the words "Pirates of Pyrite." And this is really referring to the thin line between greed and ambition. I use the play of words here again because pirates sound similar to pyrite, and pyrite is fool's gold. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, if it's pyrite or pyrite, but I know that it's fool's gold. So, in a way, it ties into the saying, be careful what you wish for. A thought that came to mind was in this case, was the Arab Spring, where the people of Egypt were supposed to be liberated, but then only to fall into the hands of another dictatorship. And so that's where this line comes from. Um, Below that, we move on to the words over here, which is ring a bell. And ring a bell is a notorious drug den in Woodstock when I was growing up. It was quite notorious. People always told you at night you need to avoid the areas which is close by to there because it's quite dangerous. Um, so I remember that and I put it into the work as well. Below here we have Nice Time. Nice Time really refers to a gang which was called the Nice Time Kids, and they were based around this area which is called Ring a Bell. So what I'm really doing is I'm sharing my experience of a certain period growing up in Woodstock and sort of, being this child who is, um, I've got open access to all these different street gangs and happenings in the area. But because I'm a child, I'm almost invisible. People don't really realize that I'm there. Um, Below that is gold plate. Gold plate actually comes from the name of a fast food restaurant once again that was close to this area. Um, and lots of the gangsters used to hang out on those corners. Below that, we have the words prophet. Prophets are a prophet of poverty. And this kind of explores the various teachings found in different Abrahamic faiths, such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, by the sayings of various prophets talking about uplifting the poor. And so that's where this word comes in. If I move down to the bottom of here, we have the words limon, sacharo, and sanguias. And what these words are, so for limon basically is lemon, the bitter, that's really what it's about. when it comes to this theme of gold, guns, and paradise, it represents the guns and the weaponizing. That's the bitter. Then we've got chacharo, which is sugar, which sugar is the reward, gold, and then at the bottom is sanguias, which is blood, and this is the cost of human life. So those, and very often, like these words, just I will either find them somewhere or they will stand out to me, and I'll put them down because I think they need to be part of the work. Um, Moving across over here, we have the words dompas, pasop, and slankop. This is all Afrikaans words. And if I do the translation for you, this is really a warning that I put here, and it's a play on words once again. And when I'm talking about dompas, dompas is an Afrikaans word which really means dumb pass. And what the dompas was, it was quite a notorious um, document that one needed to have if you were a person of color and you were outside the confines of the area that was designated to your race. Then police would actually stop you and they would ask you for this passbook. It's also known as the reference book, and police officers could actually arrest you and apprehend you if if you were in any of these areas that you were not supposed to be in, and so they called it a dompas. Um, this word over here is pasop, which in Afrikaans means beware, and this at the bottom here is slankop, and so slankop means snakehead, which means really what I'm referencing here is a snake. So what I'm saying really is it would be almost like a comment coming from somebody who never had their passbook on them or was warning maybe a colleague or a friend at the time to saying, beware, the police are here, um, and you don't have your passbook on you, or make sure you have your passbook on you. So that's where that line comes in. And I got this really through watching a documentary where they talk about the pass laws in South Africa and about this Dom pass system that was in place. As I mentioned before, this character over here is King Leopold. And we see him here in a lot of gold. There's a statue, actually, if I'm not mistaken, of him in his country that's made out of complete gold. And the interesting thing about him, once again, is that I've got friends from Belgium, and they had no idea of his role within the Congo state. So it's just interesting that there are these glorified statues of him in his country, yet in Africa it has now become well documented of the major part that he played in colonization and also just massacring the people of the Congo. If I move down to the bottom here, we see this character, and this character is really represents Africa. And I've got King Leopold standing on top of Africa, and we've got another character which seems to be standing on top of her with almost having this character's foot in her mouth. But actually, what this character here is actually the natural resources of Africa, and it's actually the soul of Africa that I put here. So it's kind of the soul of Africa leaving her body. So it is the natural sources sort of drifting out um, of Africa, and this is her soul. And then behind this over here is some text that peeks out again, and this comes from a sign from the apartheid era, which ties into the time of using a dompas as well. And it's written in Afrikaans, and it's just basically a warning sign indicating the racial classification of who is allowed in that specific area. Thanks for joining me in going through uh, this work. And one more thing to mention on this work is that this work is actually related to a previous painting that I had done as well, which was called The Scramble for Azania. and that was part of my previous body of work. And this is actually the same character that's featured in there, except now I use different colors in her body to represent Africa and the natural resources. And then, of course, there are the red, Acadium red once again, and red over here to symbolize the bloodshed.